when manufacturers decide to build a convertible version of one of their cars, it usually comes with a few drawbacks. But it's not the case with the LC500 Convertible. Oh no, this car, even though it's not as pretty as the Coupe, makes so much more sense. It unleashes the LC from pretending it's some kind of a sports car, and it allows it to fully embrace what it was built for, eating up the miles in style. One of the things that makes the LC500 such a spectacular car is the fact that it purely exists as a halo product. Lexus themselves admitted that. The LC is not here to sell in volumes, it's not here to try to convert 911 convertible buyers to Lexus. It simply exists to show customers what Lexus engineers can do when the marketing department doesn't get involved. And if you know your history, you know that cars like these, where there's no pressure to keep the costs down or to meet some sales numbers, where the only goal is to build the best machine possible, most of the time these cars end up being some of the best cars ever made. The Lexus LC500 Convertible, the V8 one, actually the only one, because Lexus didn't really bother making a V6 hybrid one, and the car I'm driving today is fully loaded, as you might expect, and it features all the options you can tick for this car. And those are two actually. This quite awesome green Terran khaki color and the interior color. Other than that, everything you see on the car is standard. 21-inch alloys all around, active roll bars and adaptive dampers as standard. The interior is pretty much identical to the Coupes, except for these two buttons over here that help operate the fabric roof, and the seats, which have these vents near the headrest used to blow hot air onto your head. That's pretty helpful if you want to cruise top down in weather like this. Everything on the inside of this car is exceptionally well made, from the black perforated leather of these very comfortable seats to the aluminum details and this very cool digital instrument cluster. Now before I tell you how it drives, let's run through some specs in case you missed my LC500 Coupe video. Up front we have a 5-liter V8 naturally aspirated petrol engine producing 477 horsepower. In the middle we have a 10-speed torque converter automatic transmission, and drive goes to the rear wheels alone. North to 100 km/h time is 4.7 seconds, and if need be you can reach a top speed of 270 km/h in this car. People that followed me last year already know that I've already driven the Coupe version of the LC500, so I'm not going to go into too much detail, especially on the parts that are similar between these two cars, and instead I'm going to focus on what differentiates these two cars. But first, that V8 up front. That V8 is something else. It sounds totally unique in today's market. It barks lower down in the rev range, it screams near the red line, and when there's no roof, you can hear it even better. And once you've driven this car, even just for a few miles, you start to realize why Lexus didn't really bother to do a V6 hybrid version of the LC500 Convertible. It doesn't make any sense, does it? So how has the driving experience changed in the convertible compared to the Coupe? Well, the body has lost quite a lot of stiffness, of course, and you can immediately feel that as soon as you drive off. It leans quite a bit, especially if you attack corners hard, and it feels to me a bit more comfortable than the Coupe, but that could also be down to the fact that this has winter tires fitted to it still, while the Coupe I drove had summers on. But does it really matter that the convertible is not as sharp to drive as the coupe? Not really, because this was never meant to be a sports car. The coupe had its sports car moments, and I was quite surprised by that actually, but this one doesn't. But who cares? As soon as you put the roof down and start accelerating, it all makes sense. This is a tool designed to make you happy even in your darkest days. You can't drive this car without smiling. Trust me on that one. It's impossible. Every time I get a new car to film for this channel, after I drive it for a couple of days, let's say, I quickly start to identify the areas in which it can't be improved. Take my M2 for example. As standard, I think the suspension is too harsh and the ride height is a bit tall for such a sports car. And then there's the fake noise being pumped through the speakers that shouldn't really exist in an M car, and yeah, you get the point. I can do that for pretty much every single car I drive for the channel. Except for this one. Whoever made this car what it is, whoever decided all the bits that will go together to create this LC500 convertible, knew exactly what they wanted this car to be. Everything works perfectly together. A naturally aspirated 5-liter V8 at the front, rear-wheel drive, a 10-speed automatic transmission in the middle, and just look at this interior. Luxurious but not in your face. Understated luxury with fantastic materials all around. Are there better and faster V8s on the market right now? Of course there are. Do I want a twin-turbo V8 powering this car? Hell no. Are there better transmissions out there than this one? Of course there are. Do I want another one in this car? No, not really, because this is so comfortable and it changes gears so seamlessly that you don't even realize when those gear shifts happen. Does this car need all-wheel drive? Not really. I mean, who drives a Lexus LC500 convertible in the winter? And furthermore, why carry around even more unnecessary weight? So yeah, you get the gist of what I'm trying to say. Every element of this car works perfectly together to create this quite unique experience. And if you try to take away just one of those elements, this car starts to lose its magic, if you ask me. I know design is subjective, and that's why you rarely hear me talk on this channel about the design of the cars I drive, but for me, the Lexus LC500 Convertible is one of the prettiest cars ever made. Look at it, especially in this color. It is unconventional, I'll admit that, but my God, is it gorgeous. It has a bit of LFA design DNA in those design elements, and if you really have to put a huge grille on your car, then this is the way to do it. So at this point you're probably thinking, that's a pretty flawless car, this one. Well, not sure I agree with you on that one. I find the fact that Lexus calls this a 2+2 convertible quite ridiculous. I've tried riding in the car with my wife and my son the other day, and it's a complete nightmare. My son doesn't really fit back there, even though he's quite small, and my wife had to push her seat all the way to the front, and it was unpleasant and uncomfortable. The infotainment is quite unusable with this mouse thingy over here that you have to use in order to control it. You can barely store 2 Snickers bars in the boot of this car, and at least in Sweden, this car is not what you would call cheap. But at the end of the day, when you go top down, you turn off the radio, you put some sunglasses on, if you live in a country where the sun exists, you put the car in Sport Plus mode and give it some beans, I assure you, you'll immediately forget all the flaws that this car has. Because as a tool designed to make you happy, very few cars nowadays can come close to what an LC500 convertible can give you. That's been it for today's video, my friends. I really hope you've enjoyed it. Please give it a thumbs up if you have, and make sure you're subscribed for plenty more videos to come.